Hello again, it's Elizabeth, and I'm over here in my art loft, as I always do my videos. Well, most of them anyway. The other day I showed a bunch of boxes that I had made, because my sister said I should show those, and then after that I had someone else request that I show how to make a little square box that had legs and a top like this that has an insert top. It won't have a divider because it's square, so you won't need a divider. So it'll probably take me 2 shows to do that, so let's get started. Here are the legs I'm going to use. They're by Spare Parts, and I think I'll use one of these handles for the top. It's also by Spare Parts. A little bit different packaging, but that's the way it works. But we'll put those over here for the moment since we don't need them. Okay, to start with, we're going to make a square box, and I went and looked in my cardboard spare pieces, and I had 2 pieces that were 4 1/4 square. So it's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I decided I'd make it that size instead of 4 inches. But everything would be the same proportionately. So I'm going to have 2 pieces, one for the bottom and one for the top, the lid, that will be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I have 2 pieces there. And then I will have one more piece that's 4 by 4. Oops, 4. Why did I write a 5? Anyway, so it's 1/4 of an inch smaller than the lid. Now you can see that I've put a little arrow on each of those. And that's because I want all of my grain to go the same way on my box lid, my box bottom, and my box top. And the way that you can tell grain on something is to see which way it bends easiest. Now I have another piece of cardboard here to demonstrate with because it's thinner, so it'll bend more. But you can see that it bends pretty easily this direction and hardly at all this direction. So in this case, I would put my arrow going here because it bends with that arrow, along with that arrow. Not against the arrow. This is against the arrow, against the grain. The arrow shows the grain, so it bends with the grain and not against the grain. We talked about on the box show. On the box show. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Anyway, we talked about what kind of cardboard I used, and the kind of cardboard I use is called Davy board or 3X board, and it is reference to the thickness of the cardboard. You can see the difference in this and this. Now your pasteboard that is your cereal boxes is probably half of the width of this. And in between those, there are things like the backs of your tablets, like if you get a tablet that has pieces of paper in it. So you can see there are 3 different thicknesses to that board, and your cereal boxes are about half that. But if you add these pieces of board together, glue them together, just simply glue those 2 pieces together, these 2 are actually a little bit bigger than this board. And the way that you can tell that is to just lay it down on a smooth surface, and you can feel like dink, dink. You can feel that it goes up to go onto those 2 pieces of board. So probably this board is 1 1/2 times this board. We're not using these. I just brought these for demonstration purposes. Now the white stuff here is actually archival, which means that the inside of it has been buffered and the outside of it is pH neutral paper. And that means that it's not going to deteriorate or should not deteriorate a lot over time because it won't have as much acid. But when I touch this, my finger has acid on it, and it is putting acid onto that board. So if I really wanted this totally archival, totally acid-free, I'd have to use gloves. This is what your board looks like if it's not acid-free, and this is the same thing except that it is non-acid-free, so it's a gray color. And it's direction of bend. You can see it bends that way and hardly any that way. So our grain goes this way, the same with this one, the same thing. Okay? Now, the grain is important. It's not of dire importance because it depends on what you're going to do with your box. But if the box gets humid in a humid situation and stays in that situation, it can deteriorate, it can destroy itself if you've mixed up your grains. If you have the grain of this, well, these two won't because this is the bottom and this is the top, but you're going to glue these two together after you cover them with paper, the top and the insert that goes inside the box. And if you have those the opposite direction, they can tear themselves apart. Because what is happening is that the grain of the paper goes, and I dropped my pin on the floor. I have to find that, or I won't be able to close up my glue, and then I'll lose all my glue. Oh no. Well, put something else in it if it'll fit. Anyway, as I was saying, I just heard a pin drop is what I'm saying, and that's not a good thing. Okay, let me close up my glue and then we'll go ahead and talk. Okay, found another pin. So, when you have this grain of the board, in other words, when it gets moisture in it, it's going to expand more against the grain. So it's going to expand this way, where it's bendable. It's going to expand that way more than it does the length of it. Okay? So if this were a 2x2 piece of cardboard and I put it in water, it's going to expand more this way than it is this way. So that's why it's important to know what the grain of your cardboard is. Now what we're going to use when I do it when I cut the sides of the board, I like to cut them so that the grain runs around the board. And even on this side where it will be, grain against, it won't be the same grain going the same way. I still do that because it's going to have, when you're going to have them all at one corner, somehow it's going to be wrong. See, if you turn this way to work with that, then it's going to be wrong against this. But I like them to go this direction around the box because then it expands up and down and not across. Okay, so we do need to cut two sides, and I'm going to make it a 2-inch high box. So what I'm going to do is line this up with my cutting board. Then I'm going to put my ruler at the 2-inch mark, so 1, 2. And I know it's probably not all on screen, but you're getting the gist of it. Since we need to get started here, we'll never get finished. Oh, come on. Okay, make that exact if I can, and it's coming unscrewed, which is not good. And then we will make several passes with our X-Acto knife to cut that. You can't cut through an 1/8 inch piece of cardboard with one pass, nor should you try. Okay, now you see that moved, but I have that already, the indentation in the board enough that I can actually not hold the ruler there and still be able to cut it. And I should, when it's taking this many passes to cut through this cardboard, I should go ahead and get a new blade. So I'm going to do that real quick. Come on, out of there, you. Okay, is that X-Acto? No, that's one of the other brand. When you're getting rid of your X-Acto blades, you should always make sure that you fold it up inside a piece of paper so that this point isn't sticking out and the person picking up your trash does not get hurt with it. And I will do that later. Come on, blade. So we'll get us a new blade. I know this part's boring. But these are the things that you need to consider when you're making a box. You don't want to just go willy-nilly about it and use an old blade, because then you'll probably either cut yourself or not get your board cut ever. Okay, so we needed 2 sets. We need one set for the length of the board, and that is going to be 4¼ inches, because that's the width of our box, by 2 inches tall, because we've arbitrarily decided we're making it 2 inches tall. And then we also need another set for the other side. Well, that's going to be less than 4 inches. I mean, it's going to be less than 4¼ inches. It's going to be 4 inches, because these two are going to be on the sides of it, and with those, in addition to the box, the sides of the box, the other two will make it, will make it 4 inches that we need for our other two boards. And again, I'm lining it up with the cutting board, and then lining my ruler up so that it's 2 inches away from that edge, holding it firmly. And it sometimes is easier when you first start out to cut one board at a time, but I've been doing this for a few years. I looked at that box, that one there, that I showed you at the beginning here. That was done in 2010. Okay, so I did get off there, and I have to make sure I stay in the right groove when I come down through here, or it will not be straight. Okay, if your board is not straight, you can trim it off, or you can use a fingernail file to sand it off. It's not, I mean, when you sand off boards that are for woodworking, it's the same thing. Just need to take off a little bit, sand it off. Okay, I think these boards are a little bit bigger. Yep, a little bit bigger than 4 inches. Put that over there. Sorry, 4¼ 4¼ is the width of our box. So we're going to take these two, line them up like that, and I'm going to put this one on top of it and line everybody up. And you can see that they are, can you see that smidge that's sticking out there? As I call it, a smidge bigger than the 4¼ inch size of our box. And they also don't look like they're square, and I'm not going to like that if they're not square. They had to have been square because they were square in the board. Come on, you. No, they don't look square. Well, so I'm trimming off, in this case, just like 1/8 of an inch. And it keeps moving. I hate it when it does that. It's easier to cut across the grain than it is to cut with the grain. I'm not sure why, but it is. Okay. Now these are the two that are going to be two sides of the board, the opposite sides. And then we need a board that will be this side. And you see how we have to do this, because this is going to go on this side, this is going to go on this side. If you add them together, put them up against the edge of your board, and then you lay this board down, you'll see how much has to be taken off that board to fit in between them. So we're going to make a little mark there with our little trusty pencil. Thank you, glue, for falling over. And it should be 4 inches. You can measure it. Why, yes, it is. That one and this one will have to be cut down to 4 inches. So we'll do that real quick, and then we'll be ready for box construction. We might have to keep our covering of it until next time. I'm not sure. I have to check and see what my numbers are there. Had another thing fall under my feet. I need to clean up my area so I don't have things falling around when I'm trying to do a demonstration. It's very annoying. Okay, we've got enough of a groove that we don't need the ruler anymore. And you can use like a box cutter to cut these. You know what a box cutter is. That's what, you know, it's one that pushes in and out the blade, and then you can just break off the blade so that it will give you a fresh blade. One down, one to go. You can see these, right? Yeah, now you can. Make sure that you can see things. Those are the dimensions that you'll need. And then you'll need paper to cover that box. Okay, but we're going to glue it up today. I'm going to use my art glitter glue just because I have it. Okay, so first things we glue is one of the long sides of the box. And this one's slightly longer than those two we just now cut because it's 4 1/4 inches. And those two are 4 inches. And we will make this go along the edge of the box. And you feel on the outside here, you want a feel of it to make sure that it's even with the edge of the box. Okay. It'll be a little easier as soon as we get our next side. Now the next side we're going to glue is one of the shorter sides, the ones that are 4 inches by 2 inches. Not 4 1/4, 4 inches by 2 inches. And we're going to put glue along here. If I can hit the edge. It's not wanting to go along the edge. And along the bottom edge. Come on, glue, why are you trying to be obstinate? Okay, if you get glue on the inside part, you can see there's glue there, just kind of wipe it out to the outside. And you can spread that out a little bit if you want. Am I getting off camera? Sorry. I think that's probably in camera. Okay, so we've got glue there and there, and then we just put that into that corner. And you notice that it does not go all the way to this edge of the box, bottom, because that's where our next side's going to go. Well, actually our last side. So I'm pushing this up against that board, and I'm making sure that the outside is even. That it's even with the edge of the box. And that was cute. Just tilted it, and that stayed together with that and came up from there. Okay, so that's even there. If it's not even, you may get a ridge in your paper there, and it's not very nice to have that. So that's the reason we make them even there. Okay, and that looks pretty good. So we'll put on the other side, and we'll get this glue to glue. Why are you not gluing? You're bad glue today. Okay, so we're going to do the other short side. And it's going to go up against there and there. See, down to the bottom and up against this side. So we'll put it along here, the glue. And along the bottom. And you can spread that out if you need to. Spread that out a little bit too. Okay, so we just put that right there. And we want it on the edge of the board there. Make sure that it doesn't go beyond the board and goes right up against there. Hold it for a few seconds. This glue comes right off just like Elmer's glue used to do when you were a kid. Oh, I'm peeling my skin. Okay, for this one, we're going to glue along the bottom just like we did on the other ones. But instead of gluing along the edge, we're going to glue on the inside edge because that's going to go up against that other board. And we have to do it on both sides because there are two boards there. Okay, so we have it along the bottom. Spread that out a little bit. And along the two sides. So you can just kind of tilt it in, put it along the bottom, and tilt it up against that. And then you want to feel And make sure that all of the edges are even up against each other. And that is not absolutely perfect, and that irritates me. See that? See, that's not perfect there. Scoot your little butt out there. Yeah, let's scoot out there and make it perfect. Now, that's much better. Okay, so how is our time? We're at 20 minutes, so we really don't have time to cover it. I guess it's going to be a 3-part show. I will see you in the next video. I should have it out probably the day after today. And we'll do our covering of this box and get started on the lid. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, like the video. Share if you like too. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.